As Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearings begin today, a lot of the focus is going to be on her record on the Affordable Care Act and abortion, which makes sense. The ACA could be in serious jeopardy if she's confirmed. But there's an under-discussed element that is more pertinent because it involves the election, which is unbelievably less than a month away. Trump's getting trounced in the polls, so this seems less likely than it did maybe some weeks ago, but he's already sowing doubt about the integrity of the ballots and the election. He wouldn't commit to a peaceful transition of power. And Amy Coney Barrett has a history of siding with Republicans in election cases and worked on Bush v. Gore. Trump has said, too, that he believes that the legitimacy of the election will go to the United States Supreme Court.
I think this will end up in the Supreme Court, and I think it's very important that we have 9 justices, and I think the system is going to go very quickly. I'll be submitting at 5 o'clock on Saturday the name of the person I chose for this most important of all positions, and I think we should go very quickly. You see the Republicans are very united.
Those statements make it clear that Amy Coney Barrett's record on election issues pertaining to Republicans and the fact that she always sides with Republicans, even when it seems hypocritical in the merits of the case, that's very important. If Trump wants to contest the legitimacy of the election in court and is claiming that there are ballots strewn in creeks all over the United States, we need judges who are going to rule impartially on that topic. I know, impartially. Ha ha ha. Those days are so over for the Supreme Court. The fact that I covered Mike Lee earlier. Mike Lee, potentially still contagious with COVID-19, was at the Amy Coney Barrett hearing, and he was talking about how the judiciary is not a political body. You have the legislature and you have the executive branch, and they're the ones who are political, but not the judiciary. What fantasy world are you living in? You are literally appointing conservative judges all throughout the country for political purposes. It's ridiculous. It's such a farce. Barrett is a political justice, or would be a political justice, is a political judge. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a political justice. She was a leftist. She was a liberal. We liked that. They don't live in 1812 where they don't read newspapers and are in isolation and try to just look at the merits of the case specifically. They watch CNN, they read the news, they are around everywhere, and they behave politically, and they're specifically put on the court to do so. So this fiction, it's just ridiculous. And Barrett would be expressly political, and political when it comes to election issues, which is quite dangerous for our democracy because God knows what Trump will do. No pun intended about Barrett. Given Trump's slide in the polls, a replay of the 2000s Bush v. Gore debacle could be the only way he wins. It's not hard to imagine the court once again installing a Republican president. Indeed, a number of conservative justices are steeped in this history. Justices John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh worked on George W. Bush's legal team during the 2000 Florida recount and successfully intervened to stop Democratic ballots from being counted. If confirmed, Barrett would be a 3rd justice who worked for Republicans during the Florida recount, increasing the likelihood that the court, with a 6-3 conservative majority, would side with Trump in a post-election dispute, even if the facts and the law aren't on the president's side. On her questionnaire for the Senate Judiciary Committee, Barrett said she provided research and briefing assistance on Bush v. Gore as a young associate with Miller, Cassidy, LaRocca, and Lewin. I worked on the case on location in Florida for about a week at the outset of the litigation, she wrote. Barrett said she worked in Florida with Stuart Levy, a partner at the firm who is now head of the Libra Association, a cryptocurrency organization started by Facebook. According to court records and interviews with lawyers involved in the 2000 recount, Levy and Barrett worked not just on Bush v. Gore, but on 2 little-known but pivotal related cases during the recount. In those cases, Republicans sought to count mail ballots that were disputed by Democrats because of evidence that Republican operatives had altered incomplete absentee ballot request forms. That position stands in sharp contrast to Trump's current assault on mail voting, but there's a certain consistency here. Republicans will take whatever stance on mail ballots maximizes their electoral chances, and Barrett's work in 2000 suggests she might be willing to play along. I would editorially change that might to definitely. She would definitely play along with Donald Trump. Guys, I know that this sounds crazy to people in Washington, but don't you think that the justices have certain loyalty to the president and the party that put them on the court? How dare I? How dare I impugn the integrity of the judicial system in the United States, the one that passed Citizens United and the one that stole the election for George W. Bush and stopped the Florida recount, which now 3 of the justices, if Barrett gets through, would have been involved in. How dare I? Yeah. Trump seized this opportunity. He'd been sowing doubt about the integrity of the election all along, kind of as just Hail Marys or planting seeds throughout the country. And now, if Barrett gets on the court, that's the perfect time for him to capitalize on all of that misinformation that he spewed. It's dangerous, and it needs to be called out.